Imagine you're an eyewitness to a crime. A man has just robbed a bank, but instead of keeping the money for himself, he donates it to a poor orphanage that is barely making ends meet for the children living there. With this money, the orphanage can now afford to feed, clothe, and provide all the necessary care for the children. You know exactly who committed the robbery, and if you go to the authorities with the information, there's a good chance the money will be returned to the bank, leaving a lot of kids in need. What would you do? There are probably endless scenarios that we could think of that would cause this sort of moral dilemma. So let's talk about morality. What is morality? And do we know where it comes from? Let's take a look at the definition. Principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong or good and bad behavior. I wonder where we derive this sense of right and wrong. All of us as individuals have things we consider good or bad. But how do we get to the conclusion that they actually are good or bad? Is it possible that what some might consider an act of good behavior, others might consider bad? I wonder if this means that morality is subjective, or is there a definitive objective morality that leads us? There are many religions around the world that claim that our sense of morality comes from an ultimate objective source called God. In the Christian religion, for instance, the Bible says to love your neighbor the same way you would want to be loved. While another passage in the Bible says that when a man strikes his slave with a rod and the slave dies under his hand, he shall be avenged. But if the slave survives a day or two, he is not to be avenged, for the slave is his money. Now, when you hear that second passage from the Bible, does it conflict with your own personal morals? I wonder if we truly know that a religious God is the source of our morality. Scientists have theorized that morality has developed through natural means by evolution. Scientific studies have shown that our emotions are seemingly tied to our morals. For instance, there have been controlled studies done between two separate groups of people. The first group were people that have lesions in the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, or VMPC area of the brain, and are known to have reduced social emotions such as compassion, shame, and guilt. The second group did not have any lesions on the brain. In the study, these participants were given a choice between two courses of action in a hypothetical scenario, such as whether or not to smother their own child to prevent harm to a group of strangers. They found that participants with VMPC lesions would more often make the emotionally aversive, utilitarian choice of sacrificing their own child to save the group, compared with controlled participants. This suggests at least some moral judgments are driven by emotions, and when these emotions are lacking, as in the group of people with VMPC lesions, a different pattern of moral judgments emerges. I wonder if morality could be an ever-evolving attribute throughout the universe and perhaps beyond. Does morality only apply in a human context, or does it branch out into other species? Dolphins, for instance, have been seen crowding around an injured female companion, swimming side by side and diving beneath her to support from below, keeping the injured female above water so she can breathe, forming an impromptu raft. Bonobos have been seen adopting and caring for an infant from a separate social group, taking the infant in and raising it as their own. They have also been seen protecting their friends and family during conflicts and comforting each other when they are sick. Now, it may be that when we witness these behaviors from other animals, we are implementing our own moral judgments onto them, and it's possible that these behaviors are similar to how plants react to stimuli, without any sort of good or bad concept involved, at least from our human perspective. Or it may mean that the essence of morality is ingrained into the nature of reality. When it comes to observing other animals and their morality, it's hard to not see a piece of ourselves somewhere in them. When we think about why we love our pets, for instance, what comes to mind? Do we love our dogs because we feel like they love us back? Is it because we enjoy playing with them and watching them have fun? Is it because we feel like we know they have our backs and will always help defend us if needed? Or is it because we feel like we know their likes, dislikes, and pretty much everything that makes them who they are? Imagine someone you know has just started breeding dogs for the sole purpose of raising them for dogfighting to make a living. How does this make you feel? Would you consider this a moral issue? What if the person that is breeding dogs for fighting receives a lot of pleasure from what they are doing? Would you say that their pleasure morally justifies their actions? Now let's say that instead of a dog, it was a pig, and instead of being raised for dog fighting, the pig was being raised to be killed for food. Would you consider this a moral issue? What if the person raising pigs to be eaten could potentially eat plant foods and be healthy, but they receive pleasure from the taste of the pig? Would you say that their pleasure morally justifies their actions? Regardless of if it's subjective or objective, I wonder if we try to be consistent with our own morals. If we look back throughout history, it seems as if morality has always been growing and changing as we grow and change as a species. Could it be that there is a core objective morality that is somewhat parallel to the idea of infinity, and us as subjects are always looking inward to reflect and shift our morals as we grow our awareness and wonder? We might not know for certain the ultimate source of our morality, and our morals may differ from person to person and species to species. But if it's possible that we can all experience some form of suffering or harm, be it physical or mental, I hope that we can continue to have discussions on morality and grow while we do it. Let me know some of your thoughts on morality.